So the big, nasty, bloated budget bill has passed the United States Senate. What does that mean and what comes next? First of all, it's important to acknowledge that some of the most damaging elements of this bill were stripped out, including Senator Mike Lee's attempt to sell off millions of acres of public land that belongs to the American people, the really dangerous provision that would have made it virtually impossible for anybody to sue the federal government, the provision that barred using Medicaid to get gender-affirming care, cuts to the Farm Bill, and cuts to environmental policy. All of those things and several other provisions were blocked by the parliamentarian and removed from this legislation. Everybody is deeply upset and deeply scared about the fact that 50 United States senators chose to vote for this devastating bill that will strip now it's estimated 17 million Americans of their health care. It will deprive millions of America's poorest children of necessary food aid. It will add trillions of dollars to the national debt for exactly one reason, and that is to give a tax break to the most obscenely wealthy people in this country. Just a few hundred folks who already live in opulent luxury are going to get massive hundreds of thousands of dollars of tax breaks per year or more, some far more. And in order to do all of that, they are taking healthcare away from 17 million people. That was the main point of this bill. The secondary element of this bill that is so concerning is that it will expand ICE all across the country. It will fund ICE to the tune of tens of billions of dollars more. They will have 10 times the number of resources that they currently have. And that means that Donald Trump will be able to send 10 times the number of ICE agents out around the country to terrorize our communities, to kidnap our neighbors, and to stuff them into detention facilities. And also keep in mind this huge ICE expansion, which is, again, coming straight out of our pockets, right? That's our tax money that is not being used for us. Most of that money will actually be going to for-profit corporations like Core Civic and Geo Group that are running these concentration camp detention centers around the country. They are making billions of dollars, our dollars, kidnapping and forcibly detaining migrants for who knows how long without due process. Those are legitimate reasons to be pissed and to be scared. It expands the police state in this country. It effectively gives Donald Trump his own Gestapo that will be nationwide. That is absolutely frightening. I don't want to diminish anybody's concern here. And for the millions and millions of Americans who will be losing their health care, and for the rest of us who will retain our health insurance that's tied to our employer. However, we will likely be seeing, not likely, we will definitely be seeing hospitals close all across this country. We will see clinics close. We are already seeing nursing home facilities close. People will be denied care. It will not be available because of these cuts to Medicaid. And I talked about how healthcare providers all over the country, hospitals all over the country, are urging Congress not to pass this because they know how devastating it is for everybody. So while we don't want to diminish the concerns of what will happen if this bill gets passed into law, because it'll be a bad scene for everybody, we also have to acknowledge that this is not a black and white situation. What is happening now, there are many wins and many good takeaways that we should have as the opposition to fascism in the United States. One, as I said in an earlier video, is that Donald Trump should be at the height of his popularity and power. He is a new president and he controls both houses of Congress. Getting a budget bill passed should have been the easiest thing that he does for his entire 4-year term. That should have been an absolute cakewalk for him. And instead, it has been a disaster. Democrats did a really good job of slowing it down. They demanded that the whole bill be read out. They tried to add a number of amendments. They made sure that a ton of media attention got put on this bill so that more and more Americans can be educated about the fact that this bill will be devastating for all of us. That's really important, y'all. This bill was supposed to pass on Friday night, and it just passed, right? So they were not able to push it through quickly. If Trump were powerful, if the Republicans in Congress were powerful, if they had a mandate from the people, if the things they were trying to do were good for the American people and the constituents wanted it, this should have been a cakewalk piece of legislation that should have passed weeks ago. And instead, this bill has been consistently mired down. Republicans wanted to pass it swiftly because the things in it are so ugly and bad for the American people. They wanted to sneak it through really quickly so that we wouldn't realize what happened until it was too late, right? But that's not what's happened. There's been a ton of media attention, a ton of pushback from constituents, and we see even diehard MAGA Republicans like Josh Hawley from Missouri who are standing up and saying, this is really bad for us, you guys. It's bad for my state. It's bad for people in my state who take Medicaid. This is bad for Republicans as a whole. A number of prominent Republicans have said, y'all, this could cost us the House and maybe even the Senate in the midterms. This is very foolish. What are we doing? Now, yes, a number of them, like Josh Hawley, are still falling in line and voting for this. But it's important to remember the final version of the bill that passed was 50-50, and J.D. Vance had to come in and break the tie. 3 Republican senators voted against it. And that's one more than voted against it over the weekend. So we had Rand Paul, who's a libertarian from Kentucky. We had Tom Tillis, who's from North Carolina. And we had Susan Collins of Maine, who voted against it this time. And up until the last second, Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, who, I have no love lost for Lisa Murkowski. As I said on Blue Sky earlier today, from the bottom of my heart, fuck you, Lisa. She was the one who could have stopped this legislation from moving forward. And like she does every time, she acts like, oh, I'm clutching my pearls. And I just think this is not good for the country. And I think this is bad for Alaskans. And guys, I don't want to have to vote for this. I'm a moderate. I don't support this. But in the end of the day, she always votes in line with the diehard right-wingers. She always votes in line with the fascists. She does not stand up. She puts on a big performance like she is going to peel off. And I don't even know what they gave her in the final version of this bill. I don't even know what concessions she got. I think some small SNAP concessions for Alaska. But she ultimately ended up voting with the fascists for the passage of this legislation. And I hope everybody in Alaska knows Lisa Murkowski is not a moderate. Lisa Murkowski, if you're an independent voter in Alaska, I know she gets a lot of y'all to vote for her. This is a game that she plays. In fact, a number of Alaskans in my comments are like, y'all, this is a game she plays every time to try and look like a good girl, to try and look like she really cares about people. It's a manipulation tactic. She was always going to vote with them. She knows that the things that she has to vote for are icky and that they're bad for the American people. They're bad for Alaskans. So she pretends like she's not for it, and then she changes her vote at the last second. So we just needed one more senator to vote no. But you understand that getting 3 senators to peel off from Donald Trump and his strong arming and his threats to primary them and whatever other threats he's lobbing at them, to get 3 senators to peel off is a big deal. Trump does not have the power to get them to vote as a bloc. John Thune and Mike Johnson do not have the power to get everybody to vote in line. You're seeing a fracturing of the power of MAGA and of Project 2025 in the Senate and in the House, because there are representatives who are already peeling off in the House. Rep. Massey is one of them. So this has not passed into law. A number of people in my comments were like, it's done. The bill's been passed. It's all over. No, it passed the Senate. This is a reconciliation bill. The House and the Senate versions have to match, right? So the House passed their version to the Senate. The Senate said, we're going to make a bunch of changes. And now it has to go back to the House, and they have to approve a version that matches the Senate. Or what they can do is say, we don't like a bunch of these things, and we're going to propose our own changes, and then we're going to pass a new changed version back to the Senate, right? They both have to vote and agree on the final version together. So what could happen next is that Mike Johnson could force a vote as is on the bill as is and see if the House can pass it. Or we may find members of the House who want to add changes to it, and then it'll get kicked back to the Senate again. Now, Donald Trump has said he wants this to be passed by July 4th. And so has Mike Johnson. They said July 4th. That is an arbitrary deadline that they set. There's no reason that they have to pass it by then. The reason that they are trying to hurry it through is because the longer it takes, the more unpopular it becomes, and the more likely we are to see other electeds peel off and not be willing to vote for it. So he may try and force a vote as is. That would be the quickest way to work this through. But it's not too late to pressure your elected. So you need to be calling your representatives in Congress. You need to be lobbying them, pressuring them. You need to be flooding their inbox. You need to be sending them emails. Set up an appointment to go meet with their staff. Post on social media. Tell everybody that you know. If your friends and family have Republican members of Congress, tell them to be calling their representatives now, today. They want to use our tax money to fund Donald Trump's private Gestapo, his secret police. You have money for raids, but you don't have money for Medicaid. You want to cut healthcare from 17 million Americans. You want to take food aid away from hungry children in order to give tax cuts to billionaires? Cool. Every one of you motherfuckers in the House is up for re-election in 2026, and we will not forget. That needs to be the message. This is political suicide for y'all to vote for this. You need to be more afraid of us, the voters, than you are of Donald Trump. So what if he primaries you? In the general election, we're going to vote you out. Right now, there needs to be vocal outrage from us, the constituents. So call right now.